Hi guys, Betty Horn here. Welcome to my channel. I hope you like what I'm going to be talking about today. I just came upon this and I was only going to talk about one, but I think I'm going to talk about these two different paragraphs, one at a time, of course. And there's a purpose for it. If you like it, give me a thumbs up and share it if you think it's important enough to share. Anyway, we'll get into this. The gift held by the prophets. A power similar to this existed through the medium of the priesthood in different ages. Moses could detect the magician's power and show that he himself was God's servant. He knew when he was upon the mountain through revelation that Israel was engaged in idolatry. He could develop the sin of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, detect witches and wizards in their proceedings, and point out the true prophets of the Lord. Joshua knew how to detect the man who had stolen a wedge of gold and the Babylonish garment. Micaiah could point out the false spirit by which the 400 prophets were governed. And if his advice had been taken, many lives would have been spared. 2 Chronicles 18. Elijah, Elisha, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and many other prophets possessed this power. Our Savior, the apostles, and even the members of the church were endowed with this gift, for, says Paul, the 1 Corinthians 12. To one is given the gift of tongues, to another interpretation of tongues, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the discerning of spirits. All of these proceeded from the same Spirit of God and were the gifts of God. The Ephesian church were enabled by this principle to try those that said they were apostles and were not, and found them liars. Revelations 2:2. Now on this, Joseph Smith also has the power, even though he didn't claim it in this, but he knew it to be true. He actually called out one of the apostles who was a Judas. He actually called him a Judas shortly, within a week before he died. He knew these people that were going to kill him. He knew he was going to die, and he knew these people were going to thirst for blood, for his blood, and they wouldn't be satisfied till they got it. But then he also prophesied that they would see more blood than they had ever imagined. And in fact, they would know not where it came from. And these men that he spoke to actually died a few years later in the Mexican-American War, I believe, where they were killed by friendly fire. And he knew, prophets have the gift of prophecy. And we all can have the gift of personal prophecy. It has been said that even to be able to testify of Christ is the spirit of prophecy. So anybody who has a testimony has that spirit. And now this, I think this is interesting because I've had an experience with this. The difference between body and spirit. I hope I can hold this still. In tracing the thing to the foundation and looking at it philosophically, we shall find a very material difference between the body and the spirit. The body is supposed to be organized matter, and the spirit, by many, is thought to be immaterial, without substance. With this latter statement, we should beg leave to differ, and state the spirit is a substance, that it is material, but it is more pure, elastic, and refined matter than the body, that it existed before the body, can exist in the body, and will exist separate from the body, when the body will be moldering in the dust, and will in the resurrection be again united with it. I'm not going to go into detail, but there was one time when I was serving in the temple and I was coming back from a break, and I literally collided with the spirit. I felt it. It was like somebody literally bumped into me. And it was the weirdest thing, but nobody was there physically. It was just the weirdest thing. And so I know that there are spirits and that spirits are material. They're not the same kind of material as the body. And everything I read in this book, The Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, everything I read, I find either a personal experience with it or the Spirit testifies to me of its truthfulness. And it puts a smile on my face every time. I wish I knew how to turn this around so that you could see me instead of just the page. One of these days, I'm going to know, I'm going to learn. One other thing I wanted to say, I'm not going to be putting out a video tomorrow. It's the 4th of July. My husband's off for the weekend, and so I will be back with you next Monday. I hope to see you there, and thanks for stopping by.